If you don't forgive yourself first, you'll never step into who you can become. Forgiveness, my friends, is not weakness. Forgiveness is strength. And the very first person you must forgive is the person in the mirror. Because here's the truth. We all carry mistakes. We all carry regrets. We all carry moments we wish we could erase. But if you keep replaying yesterday, you'll never get to tomorrow. If you keep punishing yourself for what's behind you, you'll never build what's ahead of you. Forgiveness is not about pretending it never happened. It's about saying, yes, it happened, but it no longer controls me. You see, life has a way of testing us, but the test is never meant to break you. It's meant to shape you, and the shaping begins when you let go of the chains you've placed on yourself. If you want freedom, if you want growth, if you want success, you've got to start by forgiving the person you've been, because only then can you become the person you're meant to be. We often talk about forgiving others. We say, let it go. We say, move on. But what about the weight we carry inside? What about the silent guilt, the quiet regret, the mistakes that replay in our minds like broken records? Let me tell you something. You cannot climb to the top of the mountain while carrying the stones of yesterday on your back. You cannot run toward your future while shackled to the failures of your past. And you cannot live in peace if you refuse to forgive yourself. Forgiveness is the key, and self-forgiveness is the first door. I used to think mistakes disqualified you. I used to think once you failed, you were finished. But here's what I learned. Failure is not final. Regret is not permanent. The only thing that keeps regret alive is your refusal to forgive yourself. You see, life has a strange way of teaching us lessons. Sometimes the lesson is hard. Sometimes the mistake is painful. But the mistake was not sent to destroy you. It was sent to instruct you. If you learn the lesson, you can move forward. But if you keep punishing yourself, you'll stay stuck where you are. Let me ask you a question. How many opportunities have you missed? Not because someone else stopped you, but because you stopped yourself? How many times have you said, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve this. I've made too many mistakes. That, my friends, is the voice of unforgiveness. Unforgiveness turns your past into your prison. But forgiveness turns your past into your teacher. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You say, but Jim, you don't know what I've done. You don't know how many times I've failed. You don't know the people I've hurt. And you're right. I don't know. But I do know this. Condemning yourself will not change the past. It will only poison the present. Let me repeat that. Condemning yourself will not change the past. It will only poison the present. So here's the principle. Take responsibility, but don't carry condemnation. Learn the lesson, but don't live in regret. Forgive yourself so you can free yourself. You see, freedom doesn't come from forgetting. It comes from releasing. It comes from saying, yes, I made the mistake. Yes, I failed, but I will not let that failure define me for the rest of my life. That is freedom. Forgiving yourself is not about erasing what happened. It's about deciding that what happened will not chain you anymore. Think of it this way. Imagine carrying a backpack full of bricks. Each brick is a mistake. Each brick is a regret. Each brick is a disappointment. How long can you carry it? How far can you walk? Not very far. But the moment you take the backpack off, suddenly you can breathe again. Suddenly, you can stand tall again. Suddenly you can move freely again. That, my friends, is the power of forgiveness. Not the forgiveness you give to others, but the forgiveness you give to yourself. Now here's a truth worth remembering. The future does not belong to those who punish themselves. The future belongs to those who release themselves. If you forgive yourself, you give yourself permission to grow. If you forgive yourself, you give yourself permission to succeed. If you forgive yourself, you give yourself permission to live again. Forgiveness is the first step, and it's always the hardest step. But it's the step that opens every other door. So ask yourself today, what mistakes am I still holding against myself? What regrets am I still carrying in my backpack? And what freedom could I step into if I chose, right now, to forgive? Forgiveness is not weakness. Forgiveness is courage. It takes courage to let go. It takes courage to move forward. It takes courage to look in the mirror and say, I forgive you. I release you. I believe in you. That's the first step to freedom. And until you take that step, every other step will feel heavy. But once you take it, life opens up again. The road clears. And you begin walking not as a prisoner of your past, but as a pioneer of your future. So let this be the start. Today, right now, forgive yourself. Because the journey of becoming always begins with freedom. Guilt and regret, two heavy chains most people carry through life. They don't look heavy from the outside. But on the inside, oh, my friends, they weigh more than iron. You can't see them. You can't measure them on a scale, but they crush dreams. They hold people back from their next chapter. And sometimes they steal entire lives. Now, guilt and regret, let's understand this. They're not always the enemy. They show up because you have a conscience, because you care, because you know you could have done better. That's a good sign. It means you're alive inside. It means you haven't gone numb. But here's the danger. What begins as a lesson can quickly turn into a prison. And some people, they don't just visit that prison. They build a house there. They decorate it. They make it their permanent address. All because they don't know how to release guilt and regret. My friends, hear me carefully. The purpose of guilt is not to chain you. The purpose of regret is not to bury you. Their only purpose is to teach you. Once the lesson is learned, you must put down the burden. You must walk free. Imagine this. A farmer plants a seed, but one day he forgets to water it. He misses his chance, and the crop doesn't grow. He feels regret. That's natural. But if he carries that regret forever, if he says, because I failed last season, I'll never plant again, what happens? He loses not just one harvest, but every harvest after that. That, my friends, is the tragedy of carrying guilt too long. Yes, you made mistakes. Yes, you fell short. Yes, you could have done better. But here's the truth. You can't go back. You can't rewind life like a tape. You can't edit out the scenes you wish you could change. You only have this moment. You only have this chapter. And the question is, will you keep carrying yesterday's weight into today? Let me give you a phrase to remember. Regret should be a teacher, not a jailer. Think about that. A teacher corrects you, shows you what went wrong, points you to a better way. But a jailer locks the door, keeps you in chains, steals your freedom. So you must decide, will regret teach you, or will regret imprison you? And guilt, guilt can be tricky, because guilt whispers, you're not worthy. You don't deserve another chance. You've messed up too much. But I'll tell you something, that voice is lying. And if you listen too long, you'll believe it. But here's the principle. You are more than your worst day. You are greater than your past mistakes. And you still have seeds of greatness left to plant. The question is not, did you fail? We all fail. The question is not, did you fall? We all fall. The question is, did you get up? Did you learn? Did you try again? That's the only thing that matters. So how do we release the burden of guilt and regret? Step 1. Acknowledge it. Don't pretend it never happened. Don't bury it under excuses. Face it. Name it. Say, yes, I did that. Yes, I fell short. Step 2. Extract the lesson. Ask yourself, what can this teach me? What can I do differently next time? Turn your regret into wisdom. Step 3. Let it go. And this is the hardest part, because the mind wants to replay the scene again and again. But at some point, you must say, that was then. This is now. I've learned. I'm moving forward. And step 4, live differently. Because the best way to redeem the past is to live the present well, to prove to yourself, I'm not defined by my mistakes. I'm defined by my growth. Remember this, you don't erase guilt by punishing yourself forever. You erase guilt by changing, by becoming better, by living wiser. That is true release. That is true freedom. So today, my friends, ask yourself, What regrets am I still carrying? What guilt is still weighing me down? Then make the choice. Not tomorrow, not someday. Today, because the longer you carry it, the heavier it becomes. And the moment you put it down, the moment you release it, you'll feel it. You'll feel lighter. You'll breathe easier. You'll walk freer. That's the power of letting go. That's the power of forgiving yourself and releasing the burden of guilt and regret. Mistakes. We all make them. Some are small. Some are large. Some feel like they might define the rest of our lives. But here's a truth you must hear. Mistakes are not life sentences. They are lessons. They are teachers. They are the stepping stones to growth. Yet, most people never learn this. They punish themselves instead. They replay the failure in their minds. They whisper, "I'll never recover from this. I'm not good enough." And here's what happens. The mind begins to believe it. The heart begins to carry it. And the spirit begins to shrink. That's why learning from mistakes without punishing yourself is an essential skill. It's the skill of turning pain into wisdom, of turning failure into fuel, of turning regret into guidance. Think of a child learning to walk. Every stumble, every fall, every scraped knee, it is all part of the process. Does the child punish themselves? Number. Do they say, "I am a failure, I'll never walk"? Number. They get up. They try again. And eventually, they walk. Then they run. Then they fly. Why can't we do the same? Because as adults, we add guilt to the equation. We add shame. We add unnecessary punishment. But what if we didn't? What if we simply said, "Yes, I made a mistake. Yes, I fell. Now what can I learn?" That's the difference between those who grow and those who remain stuck. I want to share a principle with you. Mistakes are information, not identity. Your mistake does not define you. Your failure does not label you. You are not the error you made yesterday. You are the person who decides what to do next. Mistakes are information. They tell you, this way doesn't work. Try another way. And that, my friends, is invaluable. It's a gift. It's a guidepost pointing you toward improvement. But only if you stop punishing yourself. Only if you release the weight of blame. Only if you embrace the lesson without condemning yourself. Now, let me give you a few steps to do this effectively. Step 1. Acknowledge the mistake. Look at it clearly. Don't hide from it. Say, "Yes, I did this. Yes, it caused harm. Yes, it could have been better." Step 2. Extract the lesson. Ask yourself, what does this teach me? How can I prevent this in the future? What can I do differently? Turn the mistake into knowledge. Turn the failure into strategy. Step 3. Release self-punishment. Stop telling yourself, "I'm a failure. I'll never recover. I don't deserve better." Those thoughts are lies. They chain you to the past. They rob you of today. Step 4. Act on the lesson. Mistakes are meaningless unless they lead to change. Apply what you've learned. Do it differently next time. This is how growth becomes real. Let me remind you again. Punishing yourself for mistakes does not prevent future mistakes. It only prevents future success. It only prevents growth. It only prevents freedom. Mistakes are inevitable. They are part of life. But punishing yourself for them is optional, and the choice is yours. Think about it this way. Imagine standing at a fork in the road. One path is narrow, overgrown, and shadowed by fear. The other path is open, bright, and promising. The road behind you is the same in both cases. It is filled with mistakes and missteps. But the moment you stop punishing yourself, the moment you release regret and embrace the lesson, you can walk forward with confidence. You can choose the brighter path. You can step into possibility. And that, my friends, is the power of learning from mistakes. Without punishment, it is the power to take responsibility without shame, to grow without guilt, to move forward without chains. Remember this. Your mistakes are not your enemy. Punishing yourself is. Stop condemning the person you are. Start learning from the lessons you've been given. Forgive yourself for being human. Embrace the wisdom you've gained and take the next step boldly, because life is not about being perfect. It is about being better. better than yesterday, better than last year, better than the mistakes you made before. And the first step to better is learning without punishing. Forgiveness is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning. It is the door that opens the way to power. It is the key that unlocks purpose. When you forgive yourself, you reclaim energy, you reclaim time,